So I wanted to go a little bit off the cuff today and address an issue or a question that I've found that some of my students have struggled with a little bit. And that is the relationship between languages and scripts. So I want to ask you the question first. So take the time to think about this for a moment. What is the difference between a language and a script? And I don't want to give you a definition of language or script yet. I want you to think first. So, what's your answer to that? Let me know down in the comments. Okay, now moving forward from that, I want to talk a little bit about how I interpret the relationship between language and script. Because for me, they're two fundamentally different things, right? Now, let's start with script, actually. A script is a tool. It is a system agreed upon by some group of people to record something, usually a language. So what's a language? A language is a system, again, generally agreed upon by some group of people, largely defined or narrowly defined. A system that is used to convey some form of information. Traditionally, language being like what I'm doing right now, making sounds with my mouth. My brain does some things which causes things to move around in here, which makes some sounds come out of my mouth. And then some other person collects those sounds through their ear, through a microphone, whatever it may be, and interprets them. So the relationship between a language and a script then is that a script is a system, a set of tools used to record the language, the sounds that are associated with that other system that we use to communicate. And so I want you to think for a moment, what's the languages that you know? What languages do you know? What scripts are used to record those languages? For me, my primary language is English, and the script that we generally use is the Latin script. This channel is generally concerned with Chinese language. We use the Chinese script. Chinese is Hanzi, collection of characters, one might call them. Chinese characters. Now, I want you to consider if whatever script it was that you generally use wasn't available to you, and you had to rely on some other script, how do you go about figuring out how to record your sounds that you make with your language using some other script? You come up with a system of rules. Fundamentally, if we agree upon a set of rules, we can use any script that we want to write down any language. And all you need to do is look at places like Europe, look at Central Eurasia, look at South Asia, look at East Asia, and you'll find numerous examples of how multiple languages are recorded down using single scripts. Think about all of the Romance languages generally being recorded using the Latin script. Now, there's some kind of connections with the Latin language there that you could potentially flesh out. In Central Eurasia, generally the Cyrillic script is dominant. In some cases, the Latin script is used. Why is the Cyrillic script so dominant in Central Eurasia? The influence of linguists in the USSR. As they came in contact with various different groups of people that spoke different languages that didn't have their own scripts, or had their own scripts, but the Soviet government wanted to incorporate them into the singular system, these linguists, anthropologists, went out there and worked their magic to come up with a way to write down these languages that were spoken using the Cyrillic script, for example. In East Asia, in pre-modern times especially, pretty much everyone who was writing, except for a few cases, were using the Chinese script, even though the Chinese script is fundamentally not phonetic in terms of just looking at it and being able to pronounce it. But that's a subject for an entirely different video. So just think about that fact and understand that scripts are not tied to languages as much as some people might want to make that claim. For example, the Chinese script does not require the Chinese language, and the Chinese language does not require the Chinese script. That's a whole nother bag of worms that we'll have to deal with in another video as well. But the English language doesn't require the Latin script. The Latin script obviously doesn't require the English language, because there's many other examples of languages recorded using the Latin script. But so I kind of passed over something there in talking about these languages, and I want to ask you another question. Can languages exist in the absence of a script? Meaning, can languages exist without a script? Think about that. It may or may not seem obvious to you. For me, the answer is, of course, languages can exist without scripts. And I encourage you to go out there and look and see what you might find when you start digging through the languages that either existed in the past or even still exist today. If you can think of any particular examples, I would love to hear about them because, I'm always curious myself to learn what's out there. I've encountered some in my own time, but I'm sure there are plenty of them out there that I'm not familiar with myself. So generally, this set of videos that I want to basically just talk through my ideas is going to be aimed at looking at how languages work, how scripts work, how we end up figuring out ways to communicate. And, that's really where I got into language, was looking at these fascinating aspects of the way that we communicate and how it changes over time or changes with context. And so hopefully this video was enjoyable in some certain sense. I hope it was thought-provoking, because for me, it's really at the heart of the reason why I went out there and started to study languages. Yeah, I would love to hear your opinion of this whole discussion, your answers to these questions. Please let me know. If you like this video, give me a like. If you like the channel, love to see you subscribe so that I can catch you in the next video. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.